Encore quelques secondes pour les photos. Just a few more seconds for the photo, please. All right. Thank you very much. If you just can go back to your seats, that'd be great. Thank you so much. We can start. I know there's a lot of questions for you guys, so I'm just going to do a quick presentation of the jury members of the 74th International Film Festival in Cannes. We're going to start by à tout seigneur, tout honneur, number one first, the president of the jury of the 74th Festival, Mr. Spike Lee. At the other side of the table, the musician, the singer, the actress, Mylène Farmer. He was here 2 years ago with a little movie you may have heard of, Parasite, Mr. Kang-Ho. She was here 2 years ago with a little movie you may have heard about, Maggie DIOP. Mélanie Laurent, l'actrice, la réalisatrice, est avec nous.
Actress, director, Mélanie Laurent.
La réalisatrice de Little Joe, qui avait valu un prix d'interprétation à
which got
Emily Beecham,
a prize for Emily Beecham 2 years ago, Jessica Hausner.
Lui, il est né carrément à Cannes.
He was born in Cannes in May 2009. The film was called A Prophet, Tahar RAHIM.
C'est un plaisir
It's a
d'accueillir
pleasure
l'actrice.
to welcome
It's a pleasure
the actress.
to introduce the actress and now director, Maggie GYLLENHAAL. He got a prize of the jury with his movie Bacurao, Kleber, MENDONÇA, FILHO. All right, guys, we're going to start the questioning. I'm going to ask the first question, if you don't mind. It's a question for all of you guys. It's a very simple question, but I know that it's always a moving moment. When you got the phone call asking you to be in the jury of the Festival de Cannes, what is your reaction? Let's start with you, Monsieur le Président.
I have a history here in Cannes. 25 years ago, a quarter of a century, I was here with Nola Darling in 1986, and I've made several appearances, and it's an honor to be here. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
We're going to go this way, Kleber, if you don't mind.
Tonight is going to be my first time in a cinema in 15 months.
Oh, wow.
So, thank you, Thierry.
Maggie?
That's the same for me. I haven't been in a movie theater in almost 2 years, 15 months. And the question was, how did I get the news?
The reaction when you got the news.
Oh, the reaction. I mean, I had actually just finished the mix on my film and had just called up a hotel with my husband and gone to the beach because I'd been working so hard, and I got the email like the day I arrived at the beach. And the whole rest of our 3 days stolen at the beach was filled with fantasies of being here and seeing all the movies that are going to come out this year. And I also am really delighted and honored to have been invited.
Bonjour.
Hello. When I got the phone call, I felt I was very spoiled.
Merci Thierry.
So thank you, Thierry Frémaux. Thank you to the Cannes Festival for this honor. You have to wait for 24 hours normally before giving your answer. I said, no, I'm not going to wait. And Thierry said, yes, you should. I'm very pleased because I haven't been to the movies for a long time, and it's a joy and honor to be able to watch such wonderful films in such good company.
Ça fait plaisir.
And it's a great pleasure to see you all here.
When I received the email that I was invited to be part of the jury, I was really very, very happy and pleased, and I felt honored, especially also because I had just a few days before looked at all the films that are going to be in the competition. And back then I thought, oh, I want to see that film, I want to see this film, oh, this, when will I see this film? Now I see them all, so I'm really lucky and happy.
Mélanie.
Bonjour.
Hello. I have the impression it's a reaction at several levels. First of all, you get the phone call. You don't wait for 24 hours before saying yes. And then it's hard to really realize what's happened. And then yesterday evening, we all had dinner together. We really did realize that we were going to share this wonderful festival together. It's such a special festival. It's quite historic. We're back in movie theaters, we're back in real life, and it's very special for us all. So we're even more deeply honored to belong to this jury. Mati, you didn't want to wait 24 hours either? You didn't wait for 24 hours? No, no. When I got the call, I was deeply touched by the trust, the confidence, and I felt very fortunate to be able to live this experience with the jury, which I didn't yet know at the time. I've met everyone just a day or so ago, and I'm deeply honored and just so pleased to have this experience, which is beginning this evening. I don't know yet what it will be like, but we're all extremely happy to be here.
Kang-Ho.
저는 올해 또 못하지 않을까라는 생각이 우선 들었어요. 전화 받았을 때 그만큼 또 제 팬데믹이 너무나 위협적이라 해가지고 그런데 이게 기적과 같이 이렇게 모여가지고 여러분들한테 인사드리게 돼서 너무 영광스럽고 기쁘게 생각합니다.
Well, when I first got the email to invite me to the festival, I was wondering, could the festival really take place because of the immense threat posed by the pandemic? And the fact that we're all here together, I think it's a miracle. And because of that, it's even more of an honor to be here.
Mylène.
And for me, it's a unique moment in my life. You could never turn down such an offer. I feel deeply honored and just so pleased to share this moment with you all. Thank you to Thierry Frémaux and his team.
On va démarrer les questions. Can you start questioning, please?
Start questions.
Thank you. Monsieur Spike Lee. How are you? And you mentioned your history with the festival. I remember when Roger Ebert saw your film here in 1989. He said that he thought he had seen such an important movie about race in America that he left the screening with tears in his eyes. And he threatened to, when you didn't win a prize, he threatened to boycott the festival. But today, you are the master diplomat and ambassador as the head of the jury. What is going to be your process with this international jury in making a decision?
And how are you doing? It's good to see you.
It's good to see you. I'm great. Thank
and I
you.
want you to know that I have a very special place in my heart for Roger, and you know that. And that was not a popular decision. What he felt about the film. You know, a lot of people felt that, you know, especially the American press, said this film would start race riots all across America. I mean, you could Google. And since you brought up Do the Right Thing, a couple weeks ago was the 32nd anniversary of the film. That film came out in 1989. I wrote it in 1988. When you see Brother Eric Garner, when you see King George Floyd murdered, lynched, I think of RAHIM. And you would think and hope that 30-something motherfucking years later, the black people stop being hunted down like the animals. So, I'm glad to be here, though. Thank you.
In the first row.
Hi, I'm Sabine.
If you don't mind standing up.
Okay. Sorry. I'm Sabine from German television. I'm still touched by this first question. I'm a little out of my program. But I'd like to know what the Cannes Film Festival, Spike Lee, means to you personally. Would you say your career as a filmmaker was launched by the Cannes Film Festival? And I would like to know also what you think about the future of cinema. For your last film, you were going with Netflix, and do you think the streaming platforms will help or kill cinema? Do we still know cinema as we know it here in Cannes on the big screen in 10, 20 years?
Cinema and streaming platforms can coexist. At one time, there was a thinking that TV was going to kill cinema. So this stuff is not new. It's all cycle. And it's well documented that She's Gonna Have It, when it appeared in Cannes Film Festival, was a launching pad for my career. I like to say that we have a brilliant jury up here, so I'm not taking any more questions. So I'm not trying to be a hog or anything like that. You know, we're all equal. So please respect that and ask our esteemed jury other questions. Thank you very much.
We have a question over there.
Hi, it's Jason Grover from That Shelf in Canada. Mr. President, I'm going to use freedom of the press and ask you a question, but a question to every member of the jury. First time I was here in 1996, you took over the American Pavilion to watch a Knicks game. I've seen you interview Elton John. I've seen you be celebrated for Black Klansmen. I want to hear stories from you and all the members of the jury about what this festival means, films you've discovered here, things you've loved about this festival, and what it is like being here as filmmakers, as artists, as collaborators, watching the works of other people and being able to engage with them. So, Mr. Lee, to start, tell me what you love about Cannes, and everybody else, tell me what you love about this festival.
Well, Cannes is the world's greatest film festival. No disrespect to any other film festival. One of my most memorable moments in Cannes had nothing to do with film. It was back in the 90s when New York Knicks were good. And we were in the NBA Finals. So I flew from Nice to New York for a game and came back. Knicks lost that game.
Anybody wants to add something about the things they like about Cannes? Please, jump. Go, Jessica.
I would like to say maybe only that what I really love about Cannes is that it's about filmmaking. It's not only about entertainment. It's also about like inventing new ideas in films, inventing film language, and trying to bring in new ideas about cinematography or being filmmaker. Yeah, somehow developing specific film languages. This is something that I find incredibly interesting, and sometimes it is even entertaining, but sometimes it's not, and then it's still interesting for me. And that is what I like about Cannes.
Well, I'm not going to be very original, but I was born here, so to speak. So it's a memorable moment. It's a powerful moment for me. The Cannes Film Festival is incredibly important. It can really change the life of a film, of an actor, of a scriptwriter. And in no other place in the world does this occur. For that reason, all young children, little boys, little girls, dream about being an actor or director one day. And I think that it's worth celebrating every year in so much as possible.
a friend of mine showed me a picture recently of Jean Moreau dancing on the tables. Well, I don't know if she was dancing, but that's how I imagined it in like 1956 or something. And after skipping last year, I kind of hope this year might be a little like that.
Let's all dance on the table, no? Anybody else?
I would like to talk about a wonderful memory I have of Cannes, which was the award given to Jane Campion, who was the first woman to get the Golden Palm. That was a moving moment over and above the film per se. That's all.
If I may add something, Kleber, please.
No, I'd just like to say that for many, many years, I came to this room as a journalist, as a film critic, and my first time in Cannes was in 1999. I told Spike last night, one of the early films I saw in Cannes was Summer of Sam at the Kanzen. And yeah, just to give you an idea of how amazing the experience of being here with these incredible people.
No, if I... Mélanie, tu voulais dire quelque chose?
I remember how emotional it was to see these films, mine once, but also the other films, and to see the technical crews which came to accompany the directors. And I find that so deeply moving to see the crew everywhere, flying in from abroad. And I'm not sure that other festivals make this possible. And one can come with the entire crew, everyone who took part in the film, because you don't make a film all by yourself. And that's quite magical. It fills you with emotion when you come with your whole crew and you see them all dressed up, looking so elegant. It's a very glamorous festival, and it makes people dream. It's enchanting.
Oui, c'est vrai, but this year is also very special. I mean, it's we all know the importance of this festival. We all know that it's not just Cannes, it's a restart, it's a reboost, it's a relaunch of the industry, the glam, the movies, the cinephilia, everything. Do you guys realize that? Do you guys realize that it's even more important than we can used to be this year?
Yes, I think we do. I think we really feel this very special texture of history. And yesterday night, while we were meeting each other and having dinner, I expressed my feeling that this shift from a century to another, and that I felt it was really the first edition of obviously a new era. And of course, we should not put too much pressure on the films and only be looking at the films like, okay, we changed centuries, so we're going to look at film through these very deep and heavy circumstances. We also have to keep the pleasure and the disponibility and to let ourselves just being surprised by experiencing any gesture that comes in. But obviously, we've been through, in many dimensions, through a lot of very deep and profound changes. A lot of fragilities and failure had been revealed, and I'm sure that each of us, both intimately and politically, will look at this film charged of all these new lines moving, and so it's a lot of dimensions, I feel, to take on, because so much is going on, and I guess that also each of our relationship to cinema is also changing, because we haven't seen much, because it's also very particular to watch so many, like a wave of cinema after a quite absence of it. So it's a lot, but I hope we will still try to be as much present and receptive as possible.
I think we have a question over there.
Bonjour, je suis Tiziana Rico.
Hello, I work for the Austrian TV. I have a question for Jessica Hausner. You've already said that you were here as a director with your film. Now you're part of the jury. What's it like to play this new part? And maybe you could answer in German.
Will it be
If
translated?
you don't mind translating in English afterwards. We don't.
Ah, okay. Another job.
Other job, yeah.
Okay, also erst auf Deutsch. Ich finde, das sind wirklich zwei Seiten derselben Medaille. Wenn ich Filme mache, bin ich auch gleichzeitig Zuseherin. Also ich frage mich, indem ich einen Film mache, frage ich mich zugleich, wie wirkt der Film auf die Zuseher. So I'm saying that it's two sides of one medal. If I'm making a film, I'm also at the same time trying to imagine what the spectator might think of what I'm doing right now. So at the same time I'm doing the film, I'm making a film, but I'm also the spectator of it. And so it's very actually two tasks that sort of belong together. And now being part of the jury, the juries I've been in before always also helped me to better reflect on my own work, because reflecting on other directors' works is of course sort of it's improving my own machine in my head and in my heart. It brings new ideas and it makes me also develop new perspectives. Also die Male, in denen ich früher in einer Jury war es auch so, dass es mich sehr inspiriert hat, weil ich dann natürlich auch über mein eigenes Filmemachen nachdenke, indem ich die Werke der Kollegen und Kolleginnen sehe und mit den anderen Jurymitgliedern diskutiere. Also es ist inspirierend und ich entwickle dabei auch Ideen und Gedanken zum Filmemachen.
Thank you, danke. First row.
Hello, I'm Anana Bakradze from Georgia, from Republic of Georgia, and I'm quite nervous because I want to share a very sad story with you. I have a question to Monsieur le Président, to you, Maggie GYLLENHAAL, Madame GYLLENHAAL, and to my favorite director, Kleber Mendoza Filho. But I don't have a question for you as a directors or actress or actors. I have a question for you as an activist and fighters, big fighters against violence. The day when I arrived here in Cannes, in my country, Georgia, experienced violence and unbelievable facts of human rights violation. July 5th had to be a day of LGBTQR pride in Tbilisi. Ultra-nationalist and ultra-religion groups backed and financed by Russian soft power raided more than 50 journalists and cameramen of Georgian TV, print, radio and online media outlets who were just covering Tbilisi pride. They were attacked and beaten, broke equipment, and unfortunately, police did not detain any of them while being violent. The government was silent as well. Some priests from Georgian church backed violent groups. Tbilisi Pride was cancelled, and hundreds of LGBTQR people could not use their constitutional right to express themselves. Therefore, let me use this Cannes Film Festival platform to say to the world that Georgia's population wants to be part of civilized world. And I have a question. Can you share your experience as an activist? Because sometimes we fighters, young fighters from Georgia, young activists, we don't have enough power and enough effort to continue fighting against Russia, against the government who is silent. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Anybody wants to comment? Maybe to extend the question, Kleber, to you. It's not easy to make movies in Brazil today. How to resist?
Well, that's a very tough question, of course. Right now in Brazil, we have reached 500,000 dead with the COVID pandemic. We know from technical data that if the government had acted accordingly, 350,000 people would have been saved. So I think one way of resisting is passing information around and talking and discussing. Interesting, because I think I could mention what's happening now at the Brazilian Cinematheque. The Brazilian Cinematheque has been closed for just over a year now. 90,000 titles, 230,000 reels of film and television tapes. All the technicians and experts have been fired, and this is a very clear demonstration of contempt for culture and for cinema. And I thought I should mention this because we're at the Cannes Film Festival and we all love film here. And I think this is also a temple of memory and preservation. So some of my non-Brazilian friends say, what can we do? And I say, talk about it, discuss it, write about it, talk about it on your podcast. Maybe call a few people in government and say, and ask, why are you doing this? So I thought I should get this one out. Thank you.
I want to thank you for spreading that information. I don't think I'm the only one that did not know of the situation in Georgia. And this world is run by gangsters. Agent Orange, here's a guy in Brazil, and Putin. That's it. They're gangsters, and they're going to do whatever they want to do, have no morals, no scruples, and that's the world we live in, and we have to speak out against gangsters like that. But thank you for, I did not know, again, I'm repeating myself, I don't think I'm the only one that did not know of the dire situation in Georgia, so thank you for standing up and sharing that with the world press. And so now, it's on the journalists here to spread the word. You just heard it. Do your research. I mean, if you go write, it's not just about, if you go write, you go write. It's not just criticizing movies. You criticize world gangsters, too.
I would just love to, I know I was not part of the person you were proposing to react, and I think it's very brave from you to express yourself about this terrible situation. And but I must admit, for me it also points a question, which is activism versus filmmaking. And I feel that it's more and more a bit divided and put apart. And I think that around this table, there might be filmmakers that have a more articulated or demonstrative relationship to activism. But I think it's important to keep in mind that cinema can be one of the most powerful political tools, and that it's extremely important that activists keep doing the work, spreading the messages and resist. But I feel that we have to also be careful not to oppose different forms of resistance and activism. I feel that sometimes cinema is a bit not enough measured in its power of resisting, and but it just shows situation in a very, it can show situation in a very deep way, putting you in relationship with complexities of any kind of forms of oppression, or and I think it's I've been thinking of this political aspect a lot for our situation, and I think we're going to have to deal with this pressure on being more, of course, exigeant with the very, very delicate political presence, but also give space to cinema and art to express itself as a very singular way of being political, and not. I don't want cinema to be taken hostage by social subjects. I think the most important for cinema is not what we talk about, but how we express it. And I think it's important to. I just wanted to jump on this, but thank you so much for your words.
I also just want to respond since you asked me to. I don't feel equipped to give any kind of advice on activism to a Georgian activist and journalist. But I would like to think about your question, and I would be happy to talk to you in a couple of days after I've gotten a chance to think about it and learn a little bit more about it. But I do want to say, I think cinema has so often been inherently political, not in a kind of political correct way where you aren't allowed to say things that cross a line, but in an emotional way. And watching you sit here crying, I mean, I think without even meaning to, if we listen both to our minds and to our hearts and make movies, that they will often be really political, unless we're shut down and disassociative in some kind of weird way, which obviously many, many people are. But if we're not, I think we end up saying things political by being truthful about our experience in the world.
I guess we have a question over there, gentlemen.
Jérôme Van LC.fr. I have a question for Mylène Farmer. Mylène, you're a powerful woman on the stage, and in real life, we imagine you're quite secret and discreet. How did you feel about participating in this kind of event? And do you want to make the most of Cannes to deliver some messages? Well, did I really have to overcome personal misgivings? Yes and no. I am a very discreet person, very reserved. But I said yes right away because it's absolutely extraordinary in the real sense of the word, and I really wanted to participate in this wonderful festival. As for conveying messages, I think I do this in my own way in my songs. I write my songs myself. And I heard what was said by the Georgian participant earlier on.
Just one more question, so it will be.
I think it was first.
Okay.
Hi, Lieven Trio from Belgium. Nice to meet you all. I have a question for the women in the jury, or also for the men. You can decide for yourself. If I'm not mistaken, it's the first time in history that the jury has a majority of female members. And I just wanted to hear from you if you think that's important, and also why that it's maybe important. How will it have an impact on the process of the jury? What will it change? Thank you.
Maggie?
I think it's important. I think, personally, I think when women are listening to themselves and really expressing themselves, even inside of a very, very male culture, we make movies differently. We tell stories differently. And I think women, in my experience, I used to watch movies. Sometimes they had women in them. Rarely were they made by women. And often I had this sort of extra muscle, and I wonder if you guys relate to this, where okay, you're watching a movie about a male lead character or even a woman lead character, but expressed by a man, fundamentally kind of a masculine take on it. And you have this extra little muscle you have to exercise to turn it into something that as a woman or as a young girl I could relate to. And I remember, for example, seeing The Piano and having some kind of different experience where I hadn't had to use that muscle. It just went in straight. And I think I was in high school, and I was so deeply inspired, and still, and I do think that a majority of women I'm curious to see, may choose different movies, may respond differently. I certainly think we make different movies and write different novels and different songs. I absolutely think that. And I'm so curious to see what happens with this new formulation and respect.
Jessica?
Thank you, Maggie. I would like to say I agree with everything you said. And I would like to add also that, because you mentioned that more women are in the jury, also more female directors are being selected for the competition, I think. And all this is, I think, mirroring that our society is now ready for a certain change that should have happened earlier, I think. But some things take a lot of time, and I think this takes a lot of time to also change our images in our heads that we have of each other. And I would like to tell a very short story about a female bus driver in Vienna in the 1950s. There was the first time that a woman was actually conducting a public bus, and some of the guests in the bus left the bus because they were afraid that the female conductor was not able to drive the bus. And I think we have gone very far since then. I mean, it's 70 years later, but still, I think some of those fears of those guests in the bus are still in our heads. And I am hoping very much that we get rid of those biases more and more.
Il y a deux choses hystériques.
There are two things
Il y a deux choses historiques.
which are quite historical this year in Cannes. Of course,
Qu'il y ait plus de femmes dans le jury pour la
there was a majority of women in the jury for the first time, and this is the first time that the Cannes Film Festival has become green. And I think there may be a link between these two important things,
les femmes et
women and nature. What we destroy, what prevents us from breathing properly. Why should someone be afraid if there's a woman bus driver? Many women are oppressed, and I believe you will have understood that these situations often apply to women. This festival has made it possible to take a look at things differently. Fires are burning down forests, and if you take a hummingbird, you can drop little drops of water and hope to put out the fire. That's what Cannes is doing. We're getting rid of plastic. We're trying to be much greener. Maybe it's just a drop of water on a fire, but at least we're doing our share. It's a minimum. We're trying to do our best. And I dream that we all be the first and last festival where there will be a debate on women. Maybe I'm a bit naive, but if we could let the planet breathe and let women breathe at the same time, and there should be no need for further discussion and debate. That would be a wonderful thing. And it's wonderful that a festival will be proposing documentaries and powerful films on the environment, because the cinema is an art which changes people, which pushes people to change. It creates momentum, it moves people, and that's why it's so magnificent in all respects. One should never forget that there are these two combats which are necessarily intertwined. The environment and everything are totally interleaved.
Je suis une femme aussi.
I'm a woman too. Maybe I should take the floor.
Les hommes dessus, mais sur ce sujet.
It'd be interesting to hear what men have to say as well.
Je suis sensible à tout ce qui
I fully share everything that has been said. I believe we are all eager. Well, I don't know whether we'll actually experience this in our own lives, but maybe one day we won't have to put woman in front of the word director, because it seems almost necessary at present to insist on the fact that it's a woman, and people have to ensure there is an even balance. What I think is important is that the selection committee and the jury are as balanced as possible, so that when films are seen, it becomes almost unnecessary to think, oh, was this a man or a woman director? When you see a film, one day will come when you don't need even to ask the question. The cinema
le sujet
will become the real subject.
Soit aussi pas débarrassé, mais libéré.
Will have been freed
de toutes ces questions.
All these issues.
Si je le dis clairement.
I don't know whether I'm very clear in what I'm saying.
C'est toujours, même aujourd'hui encore pour moi,
Even today,
pas
for
évident
me,
d'être,
it's not easy
en tant que cinéaste, en tant qu'artiste,
as a director and an artist
amené à ces questions-là.
to constantly have to revert to gender-based issues. I agree that you have to talk about this,
Et on sent à quel point notre
but one senses to what extent our presence is linked to our own individual work and changes in society. It's all this work, all these efforts, all these commitments which are converging, and that's what counts. Everyone should chip in insofar as he or she can, and as best we can through the cinema, by being an activist, by doing things directly. I think that everyone has to do this using the appropriate tool. Otherwise, this might become overly formatted, overly politically correct, and sometimes condescending. You would choose a film for politically correct reasons, not because of the unique way of looking at the world in the film.
All right, then. I want to thank the members of the 74th International Film Festival of Cannes, or as Matty said, the first one of the new era. Thank you to Mylène Farmer, Mélanie, Laurent, Jessica HAUSNER, Tahar, RAHIM, Maggie, GYLLENHAAL, Kleber, MENDONÇA, FILHO, et Monsieur le Président, Spike Lee.